Let's step into the shadows of history, where the darkest truths lie buried beneath layers of wealth and power. As an independent historian, I've spent years digging into the stories that make the comfortable squirm. The ones that reveal the raw, unfiltered cruelty of those who held the reins of society. Today, I'm taking you to 16th century Hungary, to the cold stone halls of Countess Castle, where a woman named Elizabeth Báthory turned vanity into a nightmare. Her name is whispered in horror stories, but she was no myth. She was real, her crimes were real, and the system that protected her was all too real. Picture this: a noblewoman so obsessed with eternal youth that she bathed in the blood of young girls, believing it could stop time itself. Over the next few hours, we'll walk through her world, not as distant observers, but as if we're standing in her castle, hearing the echoes of her victims' screams. Let's begin. Imagine Hungary in 1560, a land caught between the fading glow of the Renaissance and the brutal realities of feudal power. The air is thick with the scent of pine forests, and the distant drums of Ottoman invasions keep everyone on edge. In this world, the Báthory family ruled like gods. Their castles, perched on Carpathian hills, were fortresses of opulence and fear. Elizabeth, born into this dynasty, was no ordinary aristocrat. Her uncle was Stephen Báthory, King of Poland, her cousin, a cardinal, her nephew, a governor. Power wasn't just their birthright, it was their weapon. Elizabeth grew up in Báthory, a sprawling estate where luxury and violence were old friends. Public executions were family outings, with crowds cheering as dissenters were flayed or impaled. Torture wasn't justice, it was spectacle. As a child, Elizabeth was sharp, striking, and already marked by her family's darkness. At 11, she was betrothed to Ferenc Nadasdy, a military commander known as the Black Knight for his battlefield savagery. Their marriage in 1575 wasn't about love. It was a merger of two brutal dynasties. While other girls played with dolls, Elizabeth watched executions with a chilling fascination, studying the faces of the dying with an intensity that unnerved even hardened soldiers. Her world was one where cruelty was strength, and she learned early that power meant never having to say you were sorry. By her 20s, Elizabeth was a vision of beauty and authority, but beneath her polished exterior, something darker stirred. Mirrors, rare and precious in her time, became her obsession. She'd stare into them, searching for the first signs of age, faint lines, a dulling glow. The fear of losing her youth wasn't just vanity, it was existential dread. In an era when medieval medicine mixed with superstition, whispers of blood's power were common. Alchemists spoke of it as the source of life. Nobles dabbled in rituals to harness it. Elizabeth didn't just listen, she acted. When Ferenc was away fighting Ottomans, she ruled their remote castle alone, her power absolute over hundreds of servants and peasants. A dropped plate could earn a whipping, a late arrival, a blade. These weren't punishments, they were experiments. She kept journals, noting each victim's pain threshold, their screams, their breaking points. She wasn't just cruel, she was clinical. When Ferenc died in 1604, Elizabeth was 44, a widow with no one to check her. Countess Castle became her domain, a fortress on a lonely hill, surrounded by dense forests and loyal guards. Here, her obsession with youth took a horrifying turn. It started with a single moment. Blood from a beaten servant splattered her skin, and Elizabeth, whether through delusion or desperation, believed the spot looked younger. That spark ignited a fire. She began collecting blood, first in basins, then in bathtubs. Her servants, some terrified, others disturbingly eager, became her accomplices. They roamed villages, offering young girls, often virgins aged 12 to 18, jobs as maids. Parents, desperate for their daughters to escape poverty, sent them willingly, unaware they were delivering them to a death trap. The castle's gates closed behind these girls like the jaws of a beast. Inside, Elizabeth's torture chamber awaited, a masterpiece of cruelty. She designed devices to maximize pain while keeping victims alive: spiked cages, heated irons, chairs rigged to burn. She'd force girls to stand in snow until they froze, then pour boiling water over them, watching their skin peel away. Each act was recorded in her journals: the girl's age, her village, the method that drew the most blood. Elizabeth wasn't just killing, she was researching immortality. Her bathtubs, custom-made to catch every drop, were filled with the blood of girls hung upside down, their throats slit like livestock. She bathed in it, drank it, even mixed it with wine or baked it into puddings. Her inner circle disposed of bodies in rivers, forests, or shallow graves, while wolves prowled the castle grounds, cleaning up the rest. What makes this story so chilling isn't just the body count, though estimates reach over 600, but how normal it seemed to those around her. Elizabeth's wealth and status made her untouchable. Local officials, bribed with gold or cowed by fear, turned away. The Catholic Church, enriched by her donations, blessed her actions. Her family's influence, cousins in the clergy, a nephew in government, silenced whispers of her crimes. For over 2 decades, she operated in plain sight, a predator protected by a system that valued power over justice. Peasants had no rights. Their daughters were disposable. Even when rumors spread, they were dismissed as envy or superstition. Elizabeth had built a perfect machine of death, and no one dared stop it. But perfection breeds arrogance, and Elizabeth's was her downfall. In her later years, she grew bold, targeting not just peasants but girls from minor noble families. These families had connections, voices, and the means to fight back. When their daughters vanished, the whispers became roars. King Matthias, under pressure, ordered an investigation in 1610. György Thurso, Elizabeth's own cousin and Palatine of Hungary, was sent to Countess castle. He expected to dismiss the rumors, to protect the family name. Instead, he walked into a slaughterhouse. Corpses littered the halls, some fresh, others half-buried. Torture devices glistened with blood. Survivors, barely clinging to life, spoke of horrors that defied belief. One girl, Anna Hedviga, described Elizabeth biting chunks of flesh from her victims, savoring their pain. The evidence was undeniable, but justice was complicated. A public trial would have exposed the rot at the heart of Hungary's elite. Church officials, local lords, even royals who'd taken her bribes. The Habsburg monarchy couldn't afford the scandal. So, they crafted a compromise. Elizabeth's servants were tortured and burned alive, their deaths a spectacle to sate public outrage. But Elizabeth, too connected to be executed, was spared. Instead, she was walled up in a small room in Countess castle, with only slits for food and air. For 4 years, she lived in darkness, her mind unraveling. She died in 1614, alone, her family's wealth and name untouched. The Báthory legacy endured, while the names of her victims, hundreds of girls, faded into history. Elizabeth's story doesn't end with her death. Her crimes, her bloodbaths, her obsession with youth became the blueprint for every vampire legend that followed. Dracula himself owes her a nod. But the real horror isn't supernatural, it's human. It's the system that let her kill for decades, the web of power and privilege that shielded her. She wasn't a lone monster. She was enabled by a society that bowed to wealth and status. Her story is a warning, etched in blood, that power without accountability breeds monsters. And those monsters, as history shows, are never as far away as we'd like to think. What other truths are hidden in the shadows of the past? What other monsters have been protected by the powerful? If this story gripped you, hit that subscribe button and leave a comment with your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you make of Elizabeth Báthory's legacy.